Welcome to Constructive Conversations, Building Canada Stories. I'm your host, George Affleck. Thanks for joining me as we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from leaders and pioneers in the business. Today, I'm joined by Laura Stanton from All West Glass in Northern BC, a family-owned glass distribution and supply company. In fact, Laura oversees daily operations of 4 businesses under the umbrella. As AWG celebrates its 50th anniversary, we want to learn more about how they've reached that milestone and how they plan on celebrating 50 more years. Let's start the conversation now. So Laura, first of all, thanks so much for joining me here on Constructive Conversations. And I want to point out, first of all, that this podcast actually will be released as part of Women in Construction Week. And I think it's obvious that this is something that might be really important to you. Maybe you can tell me a bit about why this is actually an important week.
Sure. I own and operate a second generation family business. My parents started it in 1971. My mother, a woman, was integral into its startup, its success. She retired in 1996, which is when I came back into the business in 97, I guess I did, and sort of assumed her financial role in the company. And it is very construction based. A lot of what we do is, we put glass in storefronts. We're in new construction. We're all over the place. We do everything glass. So I work with men. I like mostly men, and it's challenging sometimes, but very rewarding as well. And it's how I grew up. It's what I came back to after school, and it's what I enjoy.
I mean, I think that the industry is always challenged, and I've had a lot of these conversations with people about encouraging women to work in the construction industry and the service providers for the construction industry. Is that something that you put as a priority as an employer? Are you looking for strong and capable women to be a part of your team? How does that work?
I wouldn't say we actively look for that. We do look. I certainly never discount a woman in construction. Sure. It's rare, though. Women don't come into this industry very readily. It's starting at the bottom. It's a physical trade. So if we're bringing women in, it's office jobs, it's accountants, it's lawyers, it's professionals more so than the construction trade route. But definitely we do, I encourage anyone to come into this industry and you can make a long, rewarding career of being in construction, even if you're a woman. So
and sometimes you leave it and you get pulled back in like you have. Yeah. So it's like, you can't escape it. You can't escape. Now, I'm actually looking at a list here of companies that you're overseeing at AWG. 19 retail locations. You own a distribution network. You supply 7 of your own glass installers across Canada, and you can supply anyone who needs glass installation as well. That's a lot of things. And maybe you can talk take me through some of these business streams and what they all kind of do, because they're kind of connected, but they're also independent.
Sure. We started off as a retail glass shop. So my dad, who was a glazier, a journeyman glazier in his early years, in his early 20s, saw a great opportunity here. He moved north with my mother in 71 or 70, I guess, to Prince George, and started working for a glazier outfit there. And he would be the one that would travel west, and he would see all of this opportunity. So he was a commercial glazier mainly. So he was building all the schools here. He was putting the glass in the schools, the government buildings that were being built at the time. They were installing all the glass, and he would always come back from his trips and go on and on to my mom about how beautiful it was here, and just the tremendous opportunity, because nobody was doing glass out this way. Anyway, long story short, they came out, started a business, and never really looked back. And so they started off as just a little glass shop, so selling glass for your home, selling glass windshield replacement for your vehicle, storefront for your business, And we just grew. And he took on partners. Our retail stores are very much like a franchise.
Okay.
Our local managers have a share, a piece of the business where they are. So that grew, and I think at our peak we were about 22 locations in northern BC and Alberta, up into the territories, and we are shrunk now. We're 19, and then we decided we needed to supply ourselves, just to be more competitive, get a better price for wholesale glass product. So we got into the business of manufacturing sealed units, which are the two pieces of glass you put together that go in your home. So if you get a soccer ball, well, I guess not, a baseball through your front window, we're the ones that'll send you that piece of glass and have your installer put it back together for you. We also wholesale and distribute windshield glass, so front windshields, side glass, tempered pieces. We bring from offshore or the US and redistribute through our retail chains or retail network and any other glass installer that wants to do business with us. So yeah, it's busy.
It's really like the A to Z of the glass.
It
really
is.
kind of cornered every angle. I mean, is that you took over in 2015?
Yes.
Let's talk a bit about, how maybe things have changed. Obviously, your dad and your mom, they grew the business to a certain size, but you've seen continued growth since you took over. And how much of that is a result of the decisions you've made? What were some of those decisions? I mean, what were some of the bad decisions, but what were the good decisions that really took you in a trajectory
getting into the wholesale distribution business was sort of, I like to own that a bit with my dad, and we have two main partners now on that end of things. There's 7 distribution outlets across Canada. Prices were getting unreasonable with a current supplier. Payment terms, it was getting more and more difficult to deal with these people and the demands they were putting on us. So it's like, let's just try and do this on our own. And so we started importing our own windshields, and that's how it first started. And just a little bit, a truckload at a time. And so then we sort of, with the talent that we were able to get into partnership with, 2 fellas at that time. They were from a competitor. They worked for them and decided they wanted to change and wanted to get into business with us. So that was about 15 years ago, maybe a little longer now, early 90s.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
It does.
Yeah.
So that's one piece I own a little bit of.
Okay.
Because it was from the ground up. We had to put back-end systems, all the back-end office in place, create relationships with suppliers. When we were just saying, hey, we're a little glass company from Northern Canada, we really want to buy truckloads of windshields from you. We promise we'll pay you, right? And doing business with American suppliers is very different than Canadian suppliers. Canadians are, true to their reputation. They're a lot more laid back, and Americans not so much. So that was a big learning curve as well. And then currently we're expanding our sealed unit manufacturing facility in Prince George, just again, to be more competitive in certain markets. And because we are losing market share, because there are more players in the area. And so we had to make moves to continue to be relevant and be able to sell glass and be successful in the future, right?
I mean, pivoting, that's key to any successful business for the long term, I think. And I think that and I would imagine a lot of those competitors are multinationals or conglomerates or whatever. And so they have efficiencies in scale. So how does that change? What does your customer base change like? Because it sounds like you've changed the way you become the supplier. You've kind of taken both on your the supplier and the distributor and the sales team as well. Everything, the retailer. So your customers are quite diverse, and because you would be B2B and B2C in that situation.
They're everybody, yeah. On the retail side, they're everybody. On the wholesale side, they're the glass shops. They're our retail business as well as others. And we've had a lot of discussions, myself and our senior team, around, what is the future of all this glass, and skilled labor is almost impossible to get in the glazing world. Um, and quite honestly, just labor in general is becoming
Yeah.
quite elusive. It's difficult to find young people that want to pick up a tool, and I don't mean to be facetious, but it is a reality that's smacking us in the face every day. And
We're hearing that across the
yeah,
country in the sector, is that challenge of getting people, not only, as we said earlier about women, but in general, getting young people interested and seeing the opportunity.
yeah. So we talk about this almost daily, like honestly, almost daily. And it's like, okay, if we can't have installers or hire installers to put your window in,
Hmm.
maybe we can still make the glass and sell it to somebody that will install it for the end user, right?
Right.
And this is where our thinking is going. I think that's where the growth for us is.
Hmm.
Um, Certainly, we are the David in a world of Goliaths in our business, and yeah, the conversation is, how do we stay relevant and
It's
and support the market and feed the market, right? So
Well, and it's one of those things, because my first questions were related to all these things you're juggling, and there seems to be a lot of talk these days in industries about niche, focusing in and narrowing your customer base. But if you were to take today's model that you have and looking at your customer base, where does where does the majority of your business come from, and where do you see the opportunity? Is the business that you have now where you see the potential, because you have all these things, but you're obviously saying that there's a sector that's possible for growth,
yeah,
and you're in that decision making process, but that's stressful,
it
and
is.
so it's an
Yeah,
interesting time for you. How do you deal with that
it
stress
is. I
and
don't
make that
know.
decision that you're going through right now?
You just one day at a time, right? And
Yeah.
and and quite honestly, this year has been it's probably been my most difficult, because we typically have over 300 employees throughout the year. Um, Within this last 12 months, 12, 14 months, we have lost a lot of long-term people. Like, we're talking 40-year, 30-year, 25-year guys, and they're aging out, they're retiring,
Right.
and and it, it's hard to lose that experience and that knowledge, especially in what we do, because it still will always be a very physical, at the end of the chain. It's a very physical, the installation work. Um, you can't automate it. It has to be guys picking up a piece of glass and putting it in a house or a windshield or a car, and you just can't get away from that. So if we're not finding or hiring those people, and if we're not able to train them to do what we need to do, um, successfully and effectively, we don't want warranty, we don't want callback.
Hmm.
So there's that whole piece as well. We do take pride in the work we do, and so it's like, maybe we move more to a supply only model. I'm not saying it's there totally, because we do have this retail business
Sure.
that's very successful, right? Um, but
But the retail
it's
guys, they kind of take care of their own staff. They bring in their teams, because they
yeah,
work
but
like franchises. But so you're
they
involved in
do.
their.
But we're more involved, I would say, than a
Okay.
franchise, for sure. We have regional manager support, and
Okay.
so we're connected that way. And I'll be the one getting the call, or a regional manager will get a call saying, so and so quit in my location today, and what do I do? And um,
Hmm.
we have
Yeah.
different skill sets with different managers too, right? So we have a lot
Sure.
of new young managers coming in that we're having to train,
That's good.
and they need the mentorship. It is good,
Hmm.
but they need the time and the mentorship, and yeah, it's been a challenging few. At least this last year has been really
I, I
challenging.
I don't think
Yeah.
you're alone on that one, on many
No, I
levels
don't.
for sure, and it seems to be getting crazier again. But okay, so focusing on if as a supplier though, and bringing
Yeah.
in, I mean, as a retailer, it's you advertise, you get
Hmm.
customers kind of come in, they know you, they're but on the supplier side, you have to grow that business by relationships. And
Yes. Oh, yeah.
how do you see that? Like, how do you grow that business if you do focus on that? How do you? And I think this is not only for your industry, but any industry where you're looking at that supplier side. What
Hmm.
is the magic formula to grow that side of the business?
I don't know if there is one. I think for glass, it's a very small world, and I had an ex-partner of ours. He was a main partner in all of it. He was our old general manager, Doug Peters. Um, he would always say the glass business is really small, and you'll learn that. When I first came back to work, he would say it's so small, you're going to learn. And that's what happens. The same people come around, and um, they move, but they move within the industry. So
Hmm.
it is a very tiny trade, and relationships do matter, like more than anything. So I think that face-to-face contact, that relationship building is still relevant,
Sure.
and it is the way that we operate. And I here I am behind a computer and a desk right now, but I travel a lot. I go see every store. I spend time with the people. Um, we're very much relationship focused and always have been. And I think it really does help us provide superior customer service. And it's just the culture that you generate.
Sure. I
Um,
think that's key with the B2B. It's that relationships and customer service. I think it's
mhm.
very Canadian too. I mean, I think
I
it
think
seems
so.
you
Yeah.
kind of touched on it earlier in the American style. And I
Yeah.
think Canadians expect a certain level of key relationships. And I don't see that changing on the employment
Mhm.
side and the labor side though. Are there things that as a country, I mean, we've got until COVID came along, our immigration policies were quite loose, and I would think that
Yeah.
maybe that benefits you,
Yeah.
bringing in new immigrants. Obviously, being focused on the north, it's a growing region for the most part. Certainly,
It is.
so that and for people who are new immigrants, it's a great place to prosper. How
Mhm.
do you get involved in that, and how do you encourage, or where do you fit into that as far
Boy,
as bringing in workers, as an industry?
we spend lots of time talking about this. What can we do different? How can we attract people into the business? How can how can we pull them from the cities and tell them that yes, you want to come to Little Smithers and we have everything that you need. We only have 5,000 people here, but if you come and you live, you'll be happy, and we'll provide you with solid, stable employment. And we're advertising constantly, like many employers are. um, the ones that the resumes you get out of cities, a lot of comes out of Calgary, a lot lower mainland. As soon as they find out where we are, that's the end. They don't want to come. And
Have they not
I
seen a
don't know
picture of
how you change that.
Smithers? I mean, if you drive into Smithers, it's so beautiful. That mountain
Yeah.
right there behind the village is so beautiful
Well,
there. I
and
mean, just
and
send a picture of that.
our business is geographically diverse, right? So we
Yes.
even pitch them, well, you don't have to come here. We have other opportunities here, here, and here. And they don't want to leave the city. And I don't, we talk about it all the time. And because I think the people that do end up making a move really do say, why didn't we do this
Yeah.
sooner?
Especially if you look at the price of a house in Vancouver. I mean, for God's
Yes.
sakes. It's
Yeah,
like,
I could
why?
talk. Our median house price, I think, is about 400, which
Okay.
is like outrageous here, right?
You can't even get an apartment in Vancouver for that.
I
So one
know.
bedroom's like $1 million now.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I think that when you look at focusing, putting that focus on the distribution or the manufacturing or that service, is that open up the opportunity of market so you don't have to focus on just the north, that you then become possible to
for
reach out
sure.
across the country and more into the states?
For sure, it does. Maybe not so far um, spread, but definitely it opens up the market from, we mainly stay to the north in Alberta, BC, and with the changes we're making in Prince George, we can go further east, we can go south, um, and compete against these bigger people, and hopefully take business away and have it for ourselves. So yes, we're very focused on that currently, and one thing I just want to back up
Sure.
about the employment, and you mentioned immigration being an issue,
Hmm.
and it really is something that as governments, local, provincial, federal, they do need to do something. They need to be better, because it is very difficult to bring foreign workers in. And, we don't have the local people to employ, and to even get one foreign worker
Yeah.
is a paper nightmare. It's bureaucratic. There has to be a better way,
So
and I don't know what that
efficiencies,
is. I don't have the answer.
bureaucratic
Somebody else has to
efficiencies.
figure that out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there is the process for sure, and I've gone through that as an employer myself, and there are lawyers who specialize in this, but it's not a lot of them, and
No.
they make good money on that. So finding efficiencies in that. I mean, there is that concept of really encouraging people who do move into Canada to look at these smaller areas across the country. But I'm not sure if they can force them to move into these areas either. Can they?
Yeah. No, they can't. But there's tons of people outside of Canada that want to come here, and quite honestly, if they can find a sponsor, they will come, and we have been successful in the past because we have done it before.
Yeah.
But I think the process has become quite restrictive since the last time we went through this, which was about 15 years ago. And
Interesting.
yeah, it's like you can't, like we brought, I don't know what it was, maybe a dozen people in at the same time. At that time, you can't do that now. You have to, it seems like you have to sponsor well, you do have to sponsor them individually, but you can't say I want 50 workers. You
Right.
have to bring in one at a time, and it's nobody has
And then,
time
of
for
course,
that.
you have to train them. And
Yes.
I was speaking to another guest earlier this week, and they are benefiting from some of the 2-year visas that exist,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
bringing in from I think it's Australia, Ireland, a few other places,
Yeah.
and then get them all trained up in those 2 years, and then make them very valuable. But I think it does still depend on the industry as well,
Hmm.
and even
It
the
does.
languages they speak.
And we have had a bigger company, and I won't name drop because I wouldn't want to do that in this podcast. But they're glazing contractors. They're way bigger than us. They're across the company or across the country, and they brought in a bunch of people from Ireland, from the UK, and but they have also, and this is word of mouth because I got told by somebody that didn't tell me directly, but basically they've kind of given it up as well because it has been becoming way too restrictive to bring people in, and costly, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, they've just kind of
it's
abandoned it.
I mean, I think it's really important that those people listening to this podcast and watching it, take that to heart. It's not, you're not alone, not only on that issue, just in general on the labor side, as far as how do we keep people employed in these
Yeah.
jobs that actually are quite high paying.
Yes. Yeah.
But there's all this other stuff to get them to, they're competing against a whole bunch of other industries that have more
Hmm.
money for advertising, perhaps, to get and enticement to get people in.
Yes.
But it is
Yeah.
definitely competitive out there. I want to end sort of on a hopefully, because I think you look at the industry, I think your ability as a company to pivot, and you've talked a bit about that ability to always kind of be forward looking and thinking, how do
Yes.
I
Yeah.
keep the business? Is that what makes you hopeful for your business, but also for the industry, that we're all kind of thinking about these things and how not only your business is placed, where you place in the province, how we fit in internationally and nationally? Is that what gives you some, hope for the future?
I do have hope, and I have hope for our business. I think as a leader, you have to always be um, forward thinking. I mean, that's what the job is, and you have to be sort of willing to be flexible in what you need to do. We have, I say it all the time, our people are our best asset, and they are, and we do look after them, and they do stay with us, and we just got to continue on that path and hope they'll come along for the ride if we do really, change things up.
And on that note, Laura, I really appreciate you joining me today on Constructive Conversations.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. I'm George Affleck. Thanks for joining me at Constructive Conversations, Building Canada Stories, where we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from leaders, pioneers in the business.